Hi guys, welcome to Truthism. Today we'll discuss how a drug is eliminated by the kidneys, some important concepts like clearance and plasma half-life, and understand the difference between first order kinetics and zero order kinetics. We're going to have so much fun learning this, so let's get started. When the drug enters the body, it gets metabolized, and the drug along with its metabolites is eliminated from the body by various ways. One is through the kidneys, which is the most important. We will discuss this in detail later. Second is via feces. How does it reach the feces? Via bile, which is a fluid that is made and released by the liver. So when the liver metabolizes a drug, it goes into this bile. Not all drugs are eliminated this way, only those whose molecules are relatively larger, with molecular weight more than 300. The examples of such drugs are erythromycin, ampicillin, tetracyclines, which are antibiotics, and then rifampin, which is an antitubercular drug, and oral contraceptives. Some drugs are excreted via exhaled air via our lungs. These are gases and volatile liquids like general anesthetics. Another example is alcohol. If you have ever gone through this test which traffic police use to know whether you are driving under the influence of alcohol, you'll know what I mean. They measure the amount of alcohol in your exhaled breath to calculate the amount of alcohol in a person's blood. This instrument is called as breathalyzer. Then some drugs are excreted via saliva and sweat in significant amounts, and these are lithium, potassium iodide, rifampin, and heavy metals. Did you ever notice a bitter taste in your mouth because of taking certain medications? It may be because of this salivary excretion, as a small portion of the drug gets excreted in the saliva. Excretion of drugs in breast milk occurs by passive diffusion. Now studies have been done on this that say very low percentage of the drug, less than 0.7%, goes into the breast milk. This much of drug is not really harmful for the infant, so majority of drugs can be given to lactating mothers without any side effects to the infant. Still, care should be taken that the drugs are prescribed only when essential. Some drugs are contraindicated for lactating mothers. These are anti-cancer drugs, lithium, oral retinoids, iodine amiodarone, which is an antiarrhythmic drug, anticonvulsants, alcohol, etc. Now let's understand the renal excretion of drugs in detail. So this is a nephron, which is the basic functional unit of kidney. Each kidney has about 1 million of these. So the nephron has 3 primary regions which help in the excretion process: the glomerulus, proximal tubule, and the distal tubule. The same mechanism that filters everything else in the body helps with the excretion of drugs. There are 3 mechanisms that work together for this excretion to take place. First is glomerular filtration. See, this is the glomerulus, which consists of a cluster of capillaries, and this is surrounded by Bowman's capsule into which the urine is filtered. Blood flows through these capillaries, and through the large pores of these capillaries, both lipid soluble and non-lipid soluble drugs pass through this. This filtration depends on the plasma protein binding of the drug and renal blood flow. Means if the drug is plasma protein bound, it cannot filter from here because the plasma proteins are very large and they cannot pass through the pores of these capillaries. Next, what happens is tubular reabsorption. 99% of whatever is filtered through the glomerulus gets reabsorbed. This occurs by passive diffusion. So which type of drug do you think will be able to back diffuse in the tubules? The answer is lipid soluble drugs. Now tubular secretion simply means transport of certain molecules out of these peritubular capillaries into the lumen of the renal tubule. So this is the opposite of reabsorption. This tubular secretion occurs by active transport. Suppose this is a peritubular vessel. In this vessel, the drug exists in free form. Let's assume this yellow one is the free form and this is the plasma protein bound form. Because of the active transport of the free form of the drug into the tubules, the concentration of the free form reduces in these peritubular vessels. This promotes the dissociation of protein-bound drug. The drug becomes free and this is also secreted into the renal tubule. So that's tubular secretion. We learned that plasma protein-bound drugs could not pass through the glomerular capillaries. Why? Because the proteins have large molecular weight and such large molecules cannot pass through here. But in case of tubular secretion, the plasma protein binding does not restrict the drug. Two systems are there for this transport. One that transports weak acids like salicylates, penicillin, methotrexate, etc. and other that transports basic substances such as choline, furosemide, etc. So both these are active transport and drugs that use the same active transport compete with each other. Many drug interactions take place because of this competition for tubular secretion. The tubular transport mechanism is not so developed at birth. Because of this, duration of action of many drugs like penicillin, aspirin, cephalosporins, etc. is longer in newborns. During infancy, these systems mature and again after the age of 50 years, renal function slowly declines. So the net renal excretion of a drug equals glomerular filtration plus tubular secretion, because both these mechanisms are contributing to excretion, minus tubular reabsorption. Tubular reabsorption is subtracted because this does not contribute to the excretion of the drug. Now we will understand the kinetics of elimination. Guys, with everything you study, always ask yourself why you are studying it. So why are we studying this? Learning kinetics of elimination helps us to decide the dosage modifications according to the individual needs. An important concept of elimination is clearance. Clearance is a parameter which relates rate of elimination of the drug to drug concentration in plasma. It can be calculated as rate of elimination divided by concentration of the drug in plasma. So guys, keep in mind that clearance does not tell us how much drug is removed. It is only telling us the volume of plasma from which the drug is completely removed per unit of time. So the units for clearance are ml per minute or liters per hour. Rate of drug elimination tells us how much drug is being cleared. If we want to know the rate of elimination, we can determine it like clearance into concentration of a drug in the plasma. So here clearance is the proportionality factor that is used to determine the rate of elimination of a drug. This parameter is important because it helps us to decide how much drug we should administer so that steady state drug concentrations can be obtained. Now we are going to understand first order and zero order kinetics. So let's look at this graph. This y-axis shows the rate of drug metabolism and this x-axis shows the plasma concentration of the drug. In the video on drug metabolism, we learned how different enzymes carry out drug metabolism. These enzymes are in the liver. So what happens during first order kinetics is, as the plasma concentration of the drug increases, these hepatic enzymes start working to metabolize the drug. So that increases the rate of drug metabolism. So in the first order kinetics, the rate of elimination is proportional to the plasma concentration, which means as the plasma drug concentration increases, the rate of elimination also increases. Here clearance remains constant. This means that a constant fraction of the drug is removed per unit time. This occurs with majority of drugs, and this happens until the enzymes are available to metabolize the drug. What happens when we reach max capacity? Meaning the enzymes are now exhausted. So even if we increase the plasma drug concentration, since there are no enzymes left to metabolize the drug, the rate of drug metabolism will not increase. This is called as zero order kinetics. So the rate of elimination remains constant irrespective of drug concentration. This also means that clearance decreases with increase in plasma concentration of the drug. So when does the kinetics change from first order to zero order? At higher doses. So at higher doses, the drug can build up in the body and lead to toxicity. The examples of drugs that saturate the enzymes quickly is phenytoin, alcohol, warfarin, theophylline, etc. So these drugs utilize the zero order kinetics for their elimination. Now what is plasma half-life? It is the time taken for the plasma concentration of the drug to be reduced to half of its original value. So a drug half-life depends on how quickly the drug is removed from the plasma. Different drugs have different half-lives. After one half-life, 50% of the drug is removed. After two half-lives, 50 plus 25 means 75% of the drug will be removed. Likewise, after three half-lives, 50 plus 25 and the half of 25 means 12.5. That equals 87.5% of the drug is eliminated. In the same way, after fourth half-life, 93.75% of the drug is eliminated. So in 4 to 5 half-lives, complete elimination of the drug occurs. Majority of drugs are eliminated by first order kinetics. Here the plasma half-life remains constant because the clearance is also constant, right? And in drugs that are eliminated by zero order kinetics, the half-life increases with dose. That means the time taken to remove 50% of the drug increases. Why? Because as we learned, in zero order kinetics, clearance of the drug decreases as the dose is increased. Let's look at the half-life of some important drugs. So for aspirin it is 4 hours and for digoxin it is 40 hours. Such a huge difference. For penicillin G it is only 30 minutes. For digitoxin it is 7 days. Wow, it takes 7 days for 50% of digitoxin to be removed from the body. Interesting, isn't it? So guys, that's about the kinetics of elimination. I hope you understood everything well. You can watch other videos in the Pharmacology series and strengthen your concepts. If you like my content, subscribe to my channel and I'll see you next Thursday. Until then, keep studying and keep learning.